Amish farms have never used a sprinkler system. Their grass survives droughts that kill yours. I spent 9 years and almost $4,000 chasing a green lawn. Here's the part that still makes me angry. The reason your lawn needs constant feeding is the same reason a fast food diet needs constant snacking. It feels like it's working. It never fills you up. Your soil isn't broken. It's starving on purpose. Today, 7 fixes the Amish have used for generations. No fertilizer, no sprinklers, no Scots, grubs, brown patches. The fertilizer cycle that keeps making your lawn weaker. Weeds, drainage, bare spots. And that dog spot that never goes away. One chicken can clear hundreds of grubs from a yard in a single afternoon while laying tomorrow's breakfast. The last item on this list is the reason one corner of my yard is still the greenest patch I have 2 years after my dog passed away. And yes, every morning when I look at that corner, I still think about her. Stay for that one. Lawn fix. Number 7. Grubs. Grubs are Japanese beetle larvae. They live just under your turf, eating grass roots all summer long. Most people don't see grubs. They see dead patches and blame the drought. I did exactly that. For years, I thought summer heat was killing those patches. Turns out the damage was happening underground the entire time. By the time you notice, the damage is already done underground. University of Kentucky entomology has studied this grub damage often peaks in late summer, right when lawns already look stressed from heat. So the symptoms get blamed on weather. The actual cause keeps feeding. Here's the cost spiral. A bag of grub killer runs $20 to $40, but it only kills what's there now. New eggs hatch next year. So you're back at the store. $30 going in. $200 to $300 coming out over a few seasons because nothing's actually hunting them. The mistake is treating the symptom instead of the system. Pesticide kills grubs. It also kills the things that would have eaten the grubs for you. The Amish answer? Restore the predator. Don't poison the prey. Chickens and guinea hens scratch through turf and eat grubs as part of normal foraging. A small flock can patrol a yard daily. Grubs become bird food instead of a recurring expense. Cost if you've already got the birds, it's nothing. That's the difference between the Amish approach tries to restore what was keeping the problem under control in the first place. They don't maintain lawns differently because they're stubborn. They maintain them differently because they're trying to strengthen the system, not constantly rescue it. Lawn fix. Number 6, tot brown patches. The most common lawn problem in June and July isn't drought. It's brown patch fungus. Lawn looks fine when you go to bed. You wake up and there's a circle of dead grass the size of a trash can lid. Those aren't from lack of water. They're often the result of one well-intentioned habit almost everyone does in summer. Brown patches that show up in humid weather, especially in circles or rings, that's usually fungus. Not drought, not dog urine. Fungus. Clemson's Home and Garden Information Center has documented this for years. Lawn fungus thrives in warm, damp conditions, especially when grass stays wet overnight. It spreads fast. Most people don't catch it until it's already a few feet wide. Here's what that costs. Fungicide from a lawn service runs $50 to $100 per application. You often need 2 or 3 rounds a season. A $0 problem becomes a $200 to $300 line item every summer, as long as conditions stay damp. The common mistake: watering in the evening. People think they're helping the grass survive the heat. Instead, they're leaving it wet all night. Exactly what fungus needs to spread. The Amish fix goes back to the dairy barn. A diluted whey or skim milk spray applied to the affected patches. Milk contains lactic acid bacteria, a mild antifungal used on farms for generations, long before bottled fungicide existed. Costs $0 to $10. You probably already have the milk. Quick note for pet owners: diluted milk sprays are generally considered safe around dogs and cats. And before we move on, yes, we're getting to Daisy's Corner, because that fix taught me something about soil I missed for 11 years. Lawn fix number 5, fertilizer dependence. Most people think a healthy lawn needs fertilizer. The truth is, a lawn that needs constant feeding isn't healthy. It's dependent. For years, I thought more fertilizer meant a healthier lawn. I was wrong. The greener my lawn looked after feeding, the more dependent it became on the next feeding. Think about it. If your lawn looks great for 3 weeks after a fertilizer application, then starts fading until you feed it again, that's not strength. That's a cycle. Here's what that cycle costs. A 4-step lawn program can easily run $300 to $600 a year. every year. Not because the lawn is getting stronger, because it never learned to feed itself. The common mistake is treating fertilizer like food. It isn't. Fertilizer is a supplement. Healthy soil is the food. The Amish understood this long before lawn companies existed. Every spring, they return organic matter back to the soil. Compost, grass clippings, aged manure, leaves, anything that feeds the life underneath the grass. Because here's the secret. Grass doesn't eat compost. The soil life does. And then the soil feeds the grass. By now you may be noticing something. None of these fixes start with buying another product. That's because the Amish aren't trying to make the lawn look better this weekend. They're trying to make the soil stronger next year. The Amish fix is simple. Stop bagging your grass clippings. Leave them on the lawn. Top dress with a thin layer of compost once a year. Give the soil something to work with. Cost? $0 to $30. And unlike fertilizer, the results compound instead of disappearing. None of these fixes start with buying another bag. That's not an accident. Now, speaking of things that compound the next problem, is what happens when weak soil finally runs out of room to hide it. Quick pause. If you've spent years doing everything right, watering, feeding, reseeding, and your lawn still looks worse than your neighbor's who does nothing, this next section is why. It cost me more money than the first three problems combined before I figured out what was actually causing it. And it turned out the fix was sitting in my recycling bin the entire time. Lawn fix number 4, weeds. Weeds aren't really the problem. Thin grass is the problem. Weeds just fill the gap when your turf can't compete anymore. Here's the part most people don't think about. Every weed and feed product contains a broad-spectrum herbicide. It doesn't just kill the dandelion. It disrupts the living microbial layer in your topsoil, the same layer that helps grass roots find nutrients on their own. The cost here isn't just the product. A bag of weed and feed for 5,000 square feet runs $40 to $60. Because it doesn't fix the thin turf underneath, weeds come back within a season. $50 going in. $300 to $400 coming out over 2 or 3 years with your soil getting weaker each round. The mistake is spraying the whole lawn for a few patches. Most yards don't have a weed problem everywhere. They have 2 or 3 dense patches and a healthy lawn around them. The Amish fix has 2 parts. For dense patches, smother them. Flatten cardboard or newspaper over the area. Wet it down. Cover with a thin layer of compost. Leave it alone for several weeks. Once the cardboard breaks down, rake it lightly and reseed right on top. For weeds and walkway, cracks of vinegar and salt spray. The method people used before bottled herbicide existed. That's a pattern you'll notice through this whole list. The Amish don't spend much time fighting symptoms. They spend their time building conditions where the symptom struggles to appear in the first place. And water is one of the biggest examples. Lawn fix number 3, drainage and soggy spots. Soggy spots that never dry out even days after rain, that's not a watering problem. That's a slope problem. Water's pooling because compacted subsoil won't let it drain. The surface has nowhere to send it. This is documented field engineering going back centuries. Old farm layouts use the land's natural slope to move water away from fields and structures. No pumps, no pipes, just gravity and a shaped channel. Here's the cost difference. And it's a big one. A professional French drain runs $2,000 to $4,000 depending on length and depth. Multiple drainage contractors quote in that range for residential yards. The common mistake, people pile more topsoil on the soggy spot trying to raise it up. But if the water still has nowhere to go, you've just built a higher puddle. The Amish fix is a hand-dug diversion swale. Follow the land's natural low points. Dig a shallow channel that redirects water toward a spot where it can soak in safely away from the house, away from the root zone. Cost $0 to $30, mostly your time and maybe a shovel you already own. Now the next problem looks completely different on the surface, but underneath it's the same story. The soil is still the real issue. Lawn fix number 2, bare spots. Every lawn has one. The spot beside the gate, the shortcut the kids take, the patch where everyone steps getting out of the car. Every spring you throw down more seed. Every summer it disappears again. Here's the part most people miss. Bare spots aren't usually a grass problem, they're a traffic problem. The soil gets packed so tightly that water runs off instead of soaking in. Seed lands there, tries to grow, then dies before its roots ever get established. The mistake is treating the symptom instead of the cause. Most people keep reseeding. The Amish stop the traffic. If people keep walking through one spot, give them a path. A few stepping stones, a mulch walkway, even a simple row of flat rocks. Because grass isn't designed to win a fight against feet. Once the traffic moves somewhere else, loosen the soil with a garden fork, spread a little compost, and reseed. Then cover it with an old feed sack or burlap weighted down with rocks. Keeps the moisture in, keeps the birds out, breaks down on its own. $0 if you've got an old bag in the shed. The grass finally gets a chance to establish. Cost? Usually less than $20. And unlike repeated reseeding, you solve the cause instead of restarting the cycle. But here's something I didn't understand for years. Every fix we've talked about so far solves a problem that's already there. The Amish approach is different. Their goal isn't to fix lawn problems. It's to make sure most of them never show up in the first place. And it starts with two habits that cost absolutely nothing. Almost every American mows their lawn too short, 2 to 2.5 inches. That's a golf course look, on a home lawn that can't support it. A lawn cut that short scalps the base of every grass plant. It dries out twice as fast. The roots stay shallow because they never need to grow deep. The first real heat wave hits, and that lawn has nothing to fall back on. Set your mower one notch higher, 3.5 to 4 inches in summer, around 3 inches in spring and fall. Roots will grow 8 to 12 inches deep. That shades out weed seeds before they even germinate. Give it 2 weeks. You won't want to go back. Second habit, watering. 1 deep soak per week, at sunrise down to about 6 inches. Push a screwdriver into the lawn afterward. If it slides in easily, you're done. Deep, infrequent watering forces roots to chase moisture downward into cooler soil. A daily sprinkler on a timer does the opposite. It trains roots to stay in the top inch, right where they bake the moment a hot week shows up. $0. Not a fix for any one problem on this list, the reason the other 6 actually stick. One honest thing before we add up the numbers. If you've spent years feeding the symptoms instead of the soil, don't expect decades of damage to reverse in a weekend. If your lawn's been on bagged fertilizer and chemical treatments for years, the soil's gotten used to that. Switching to these methods isn't instant. The first season might look about the same, sometimes a little rougher, before it gets better. By the second season, it's noticeably thicker. By the third, it's doing more on its own than it ever did on the bag. That's not a flaw in the method. That's just how long it takes soil to remember how to do its job. Now add it up with me. Patch seed, grub killer, fungicide, iron supplement, drainage contractor, weed and feed. Even at the low end, conventional lawn care runs $500 to $1,500 a year. That's not one bad year. That's every year, because none of those products fix the underlying soil. They just manage symptoms. The Amish way I just walked you through, $50 to $80 a year. Total, and here's the part that should bother you. The gap isn't closing. It's widening every single year because their soil gets stronger over time, and yours, treated the conventional way, gets weaker. Okay, now we get to the only fix on this list I still see every single morning when I look out the window. This one's personal. Lawn fix number 1, dog spots and wood ash. Every dog owner knows this spot, that bright yellow patch near the fence line where the grass just won't come back no matter how much you water it. I want to tell you about my dog before I tell you about the fix, because this ended up teaching me more about soil than any fertilizer bag ever did. Her name was Daisy, golden retriever. She had one spot in the yard she always used, same corner, every morning for 11 years. And every spring, that corner came in burned. Yellow ring, brown dead center. I thought it was just dog pee burning the grass. That's partly true, but the real cause is a sudden spike in nitrogen and salts, hitting one small area, over and over, until the soil's pH gets pushed out of balance for that spot, and only that spot. For 3 years, I did what most people do. Reseeded it, watered it more, watched it die again a few weeks later, because the soil chemistry underneath never changed. Then an older neighbor, a man who'd heated his whole house with wood his entire life, asked me one question. He asked what I did with my wood ash. I told him I threw it out. He said, "That's your dog spot fix, right there in the trash." Wood ash helps correct the soil pH that gets thrown off by that nitrogen spike. It's part of a bigger philosophy on Amish farms. Nothing goes to waste. The ash from heating your home becomes the fix for your yard. So I tried it, light dusting, worked into the top inch. And unlike many commercial lawn treatments, there's nothing here that keeps pets off the yard while it works. Here's the part that made the difference long term when I reseeded. I didn't use the same grass as the rest of the lawn. I used perennial ryegrass. It tolerates urine salts far better than most lawn mixes. So even if Daisy kept using that corner, the grass could handle it going forward. By the next spring, for the first time in 11 years, that corner came in green. Daisy passed 2 years ago. She's buried under an oak tree at the back of that yard. But that corner, her corner, is still the greenest patch of grass I have. Every single spring. Nothing goes to waste. Not even the ash. Not even after they're gone. Here's the truth in all of this. I spent 9 years and almost $4,000 trying to buy a healthy lawn. The Amish spent generations building one instead. They didn't go back to the old ways, they never left them. That's the difference. One approach feeds the symptoms, the other feeds the soil, and year after year, one gets more expensive while the other gets stronger. Which of these 7 are you trying first? Tell me your zone, and I'll reply within 24 hours with what'll work best where you are. Next week, the 3 lawn habits that are quietly killing your soil, and nobody's told you yet. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and send this to the one person you know who's still paying a lawn service to spray chemicals on their kid's yard.